Şimdi sıra günün son oturumunda.
Now we will have the last session of today, and we will share experiences about private sector. And for a comprehensive circular economy, we have to cooperate, exchange ideas, and develop. Now we will have exemplaries from the sector, which we value the most. Now I wish to present our attendees. Tutumani CEO Emre Çelik, Nivavo CEO Arnas Akbaş, UPM Public Relations Vice President Stefan Sundman, Infinited Fiber CEO Petri Alava, Kipaş Chairman Representative Gümüşeli are on our screens. Welcome, everyone. And as we start our panel, I wish to give the word to Exchange and Win motto, and to understand them better, I wish to give the word to Mr. Çelik. Firstly, I wish to thank for this opportunity. I will be talking about Circular Economy Week's private sector side with a presentation as well as my journey throughout. I'm sharing my presentation now. The This is a second-hand market store, as you know, the Tutumlu Anne, which we have established in 2013. The mother-to-mother second-hand market area was first established in 2013, and based on our values, we said sustainability, keeping value, and savings to share our customers the thrifty side of things. And in this regard, our fundamental business model is about buying and selling with a model since we first established in 2013. I wish to briefly interrupt that. Could you make it full screen? Thank you. And generally, ever since 2013, from user to user, it is a website done P2P with a startup. You become a member and you put the items you no longer use by taking its pictures and make it available for purchase. And with everything, packaging and cargo included, you do it. Or you can also donate the earnings you get from here to an NGO on your behalf. That's how the structure is made. Of course, ever since 2013, it evolved, and with a special software, we started our adventure. And in 2014, we became the finalists in Turkish Women Entrepreneurs competition. And now, right now, in our administration, she still works. In 2016, we had 100,000 members. 2017, we had iOS and Android apps. In 2018, Galata Angel Star Alliance Female Founders Startup Company gave us funding for investment, and we also doubled our users number. And in 2019, we reached 300,000 members, and our value has risen substantially. Again, in 2019, we restructured and we rewrote all the code, and UX has been redesigned and switched to cloud services. Of course, there are some other details, but I wish to go skip them over a bit. With 2020, with the pandemic, of course, our lives changed and we saw some problems, but we saw an increase in users and a new business model's first testings began here with a thrifty idea we started in 2020, and I will touch upon them later on, but I'm skipping things over now. With infrastructure and planning done, APS system and integrations also were done here, and our first work was done within 2020. In 2021, again, with the pandemic, condition changed, and our main investors became more involved, and I got in here as a professional manager. I got involved, and Miss Özlem has switched to the administration, and our pilot slightly changed, and our business evolved. and included advertisement with new investment types to welcome other companies. Our main investors, the people that believe in us, are Ausartar from the platform and also from the Galata business. Varol Civil, Görkem Güven, and Ibrahim Gökçen are our main investors. Again, Ausartar, Münteha Adalı ve Özlem Pusat, our founder. And why second hand? And why investors are looking into second hand? We are all aware that for sustainability, for environment, we have seen it for so long, but it wasn't forced down upon us, and we have not cared until it was done so up in the last point. The pandemic was a breaking point, so to speak, where people became more aware about the world's own problems. Of course, pollution and environmental value became much more important for the sustainability of the systems, for the future, what should be done, and other things became much more aware. Of course, we were at our homes, but we also did a self evaluation during the process. I always say it's an example that I feel the most impact. I live in Bodrum since 2016, and up until the pandemic, I had not visited the islands. I was shut off at home where the exhaust gases or the atmospheric gases became lesser. And with it, I could see islands on the horizon now. I witnessed the Greek islands for the first time, and this and everything almost curtained us with everything we did, and that was my waking point. So in this regard, I began thinking about what can I do individually. Consumption habits changed. Of course, our clothes became unnecessary. We realized that clothes in our wardrobes became excessive. Some of them, we realized that we only put them on our wardrobes and kept them there for years. And I believe this was a point of awareness and in terms of what we just store. Fashion sector, of course, in production creates pollution globally and it's a resource intensive sector. So in recent times, especially pre-pandemic, the fast fashion understanding was also a much more widespread thing. You know, affordable, easily accessible clothing, always changing in season with collections, cause an increase in production. And of course, it is based on excessive consumption. So, with what we wear, we use resources and also cause waste and pollution. I realized that I could not see those islands because of what I do every day, almost, what I produce. And of course, the high quality reintroduction of products, of course, the classic understanding of take, make, and waste became much more circular as we all realized. It gained importance. The world is changing. Climate change, environmental problems, and everything else became much more aware, and fashion is adapting into it. And they are thinking about what can they do by themselves. Many marketing and or strategists, the identities of brands for the next years, they all now plan about sustainability with much more importance now emphasized. Brands secondhand, resale, repurchasable items become forefront and they started working. H&M, GAP, Patagonia, and after production, we've seen them raise awareness on different platforms. We see them contribute to circular models, circular economy models by taking the lead. Our research in the US shows that until 2025, there's an 11 times the increase in resale sector to circulate again and again, to reuse it again, is something we realized within the restructuring of consumption during the pandemic and has become a new market. Of course, the next generation, the Y and Z generation, do not prefer non-sustainable brands by 45% based on research. One of every four user compared to pre-pandemic stopped following trends and focused on needs and focused on things such as personal taste and began shopping so. Of course, quality of material takes lead. Now, people no longer say, I can just wear this season and then later throw it away. And now switch to buy a piece of clothing for multiple years of seasons. So, how do we change? Turkey in second hand has shown important actors on the market, and we are amongst those actors to become much more competitive with commission rates, of course, with purchases and resales, and profits, of course, lowered down to 10% when comparing to much more bigger and active players. Important problems of second-hand, of course, exist for sellers and buyers alike. These are, to briefly put, of course, users know, but to those who don't, saying things such as to sell my second-hand, answering them or meeting their needs and other things are just time consuming. I can just sit in front of the monitor all day, take pictures all day, or write responses all day. Sometimes the products may be faulty, there's a refund procedure, and of course, the communication and related tension becomes a problem. Packaging sometimes may ruin a good looking product, but we still receive bad commentary. Many major misunderstandings emerge in the secondhand sector. Of course, purchasers and sellers with their technical difficulties in cargo sometimes may not have things. Sometimes the security, the trust for secondhand is questionable. People do get challenged by things they cannot just touch or try on. There's a really serious bartering going on in this sector. You know, they discuss prices, sometimes 1/10 of the offer price, always saying and asking for discounts from you to sell them with a discounted price, etc. Of course, these, for people that don't have time, is a bother, honestly. Here, with the Tutum, the prototype we had in 2013, now focuses on resolving these. We have global examples such as the trade up, etc. We control a market model, basically. Here, this is how we do it. You put a request forward. You're showing things that you want to sell, but you don't want to sell it yourself. You package them, and we send UPS to you, and they take your delivery and bring it to our storage. Our employees there put them away, segregate them, and make them sellable, unsellable, look for cuts, holes, etc. They sanitize them, they picture them, they iron them out, they list them, they do everything in relation, and later we sell them on our platform, branded for secondhand, and put them for sale. After they're sold, the next day we, through purchasing channels, we cut our commission and put the money in your account without any problems. Sometimes banks themselves cause a delay, though. Of course, it has advantages. One, it is easy to sell for sellers. Two, quality goods, quality controlled goods can easily be accessed in our platforms. And in terms of secondhand, from user to user, sometimes you buy something, but the cargo won't just delivered because the seller's really busy. So you always contact representatives of customers, etc. We don't have a problem such as that. Tutum goods put it in the delivery the same day and deliver them to you. We have this idea of fashion as a resale in Tutumlu and in sustainability. Many brands now feature themselves more predominantly. And of course, sorry?
Yine minicik bölüyorum. Zamanımız
Sorry
yetmedi.
for my
Doğru
sudden interruption. We're
noktalardan
running
vermek
low on
istiyorum.
time, so let's summarize things up.
Ekonomik
Of
anlamda
course, in terms of
gerçekten büyük
economy, there is a
avantajları var.
serious advantage.
Tutum dükkan ürünlerinin satışını da
Of
yine
course, with the
şekilde sosyal
sales,
bağışa
you can
yönlendirmek
always
istiyoruz.
donate your sales
Önümüzdeki
to
dönemde neler
NGOs.
yapacağız?
And what we'll
Şimdiye
do
kadar
in the
bütün
future,
ürünleri
now we
sektörel
focus on
çözümlerde
mother
belli
and
aksesuarlar
children
üzerinde
and
gidiyoruz. Fakat
accessories
gelecek
for
amaçlarımız
women,
bu
but
bölgede de çok
later
farklı
on,
ürünlerin
many things such as baby chairs or
satılmasını sağlamak
carriages
esas
for
amaç.
babies
Pilot çalışmasını
is a
başladık.
model we work on,
İşlerine başladık.
which the
Daha da
pilot
aynı
began
modelin içerisinde
last
devam
week, and we
edeceğiz.
wish to continue it
Markalarla
on the
işbirliği
same
için
model.
çalışıyoruz.
We
Resale
also
markaları,
work
markaların
for
kendi raflı
work with
yapılarını
brands for
ya da
resale,
işte
get their branded
bir
goods
takım
and
problemlerden dolayı imhaya giden ürünlerin
things that were
satışını sağlayabilmemize
usually
katkıda
often
sağlıyoruz
destroyed due to
ve bu
technical
noktaya da
problems, we
kendimizi
shuffle them to
geliştirmemiz
our
devam
channels
ediyor.
for resale. Quote,
Farklı markalarla
we also
aynı
work with
ürünleri
other
upcycling yaparak
companies
bu diğer
for
ürünlerdeki
upcycling.
değişimlerden bir tanesi
This
aslında
is
upscaling
something promising of
yapabilmek.
future.
Örnek vereyim.
This is a
Kısa
sidestep
devre
to things.
işbirlikleriyle,
We
marka
work with
işbirlikleriyle, ürün
designers and brands
işbirlikleriyle
and
de
fashionistas
ürünleri, satılamaz olan
to
ürünleri satılabilir
get
hale getirme
unsellable
şekilde
goods,
yaratıp
make
onlarla
them
üzerinden de
sellable, add
satılabilirliğe
value,
katkıda
and
sağlama
contribute to sustainability in
çalışacağız.
that regard.
Bu arada da Tutum'un annenin çok ciddi
And
anlamda bir kitlesi var. Onun
Tutumlu
için bugün
also
çok
has an
sayıda
important side of
uluslararası
influencers,
faaliyetimiz var. 48
followers on
ülkede
Instagram,
destekçilerimiz var
Facebook
ve
members,
tutumluluğun,
and
çevre değerleri,
our
sürdürülebilirlik,
environmental values,
halka karşı,
sustainability,
aileye karşı
everything
davranışlar
that
nedeniyle
is
görünürlüğü
beneficial for the
sosyal kesimde
family
ve sosyal
is
medyada
featured on our
da
blog and our
aşırı
social
şekilde
media
hareketli
with
ilerliyoruz.
this
O zaman
platform
devam
in our
ediyoruz.
minds.
Ben çok teşekkür
I
ediyorum.
wish to thank you all for listening.
Biz de çok teşekkür ediyoruz Emre
We
Bey.
wish to thank you for
Anlattığınız
your
her
presentation. Everything you
hedeflerinizi ve
described with your
amaçlarınızı
goals and with
belirtti.
what you do, it's all valuable. Thank you.
Şimdi söz sırası
Now we give the
giysi,
word
ayakkabı, çanta ve
to
benzeri ürünlere
clothing,
geçiş
bags, and
yapmadan
everything
önce
else
sistem
and giving
bana
them a
bana
second
göre
chance
yapılandırılmış
with the
bir
Vivago system. Mr. Akbash has the word now.
Merhabalar herkese. Teşekkür ederim bu arada Banu Hanım. Hem söz için.
Hello, everyone. Also, thank you for the word, Ms. Banu. Again, Emre has explained things which are really similar to mine. It might sound repetitive. I'll also share my presentation. Hope you can see my screen.
Evet, görünüyor şu anda. Buyurun.
As I've said before, the fashion industry used to be linear, produce more, and based on it, use more resources. Take it, make it, use it, display it, and later waste it. We're talking about an industry that produces the second most waste globally, despite energy or construction, with music and display, with classier environment. This image does not put forward the reality of making the second most waste in the world. To give some numbers, 85 billions of pieces are wasted yearly. And we give these numbers and everyone starts blaming, you know, industries, business actors, retailers, or producers. But this is something we are all part of. I use the metaphor a lot. You know, as with the Red Monday, there's a murder in front of our eyes. We all look at it and condemn it, etc., in such meetings, etc., when we give numbers and statistics, etc. But no one reaches out for the knife from the body. You know, every 15 days or every 20 days, we shop willingly or convert them into waste in our homes, but 30% of it is done by retailers and brands actually by destroying their stocks, but 70% are consumers, people such as you and me. We were established in last year, by the way. We are a new startup. We were established in February 2021, and we focused on this 30% first. Defective goods, customer returned goods, overstocks, or old seasonal goods. And I go back where we can see products without barcodes, shoes mismatched, and everything that is considered waste. There are billions of pieces. And before us, retailers and brands had three ideas. One, destroy, where higher fashion loves to do this in order to keep their brand recognition. They would destroy things, sell it to merchants in dead cut prices, or third, in retail, especially on remote areas, they would have storages and wait for a miracle to take place. And all these three are not sustainable or profitable. And when you look at fashion, financially, we see retailers in pain. Their pandemic has caused overstocking, competitiveness is high, units cost more, and much more. Old acceptable three ideas are not acceptable now. On the social side of things, as you said before, the new generation is expecting sustainability, and the fast fashion is cut and gone. And when you look at things, we get, simply put, have less purchasing power. So retailers, brands have to be profitable but affordable. At this point, we see a problem emerging, and we made the first e-commerce facility in Gebze industrial zone in Turkey, which I'm also in right now, which we do all the operation amongst ourselves in this company. And Emre has given trade up examples himself, where we closely follow and give examples of, which is as a startup, we value them much more. Our model is this: we go to stores, factories, retailers. If you exclude products excluded from the circulation, may be faulty or not, instead of donating, selling, reselling them, give them to us. We'll take them through three steps and make them affordable again. Of course, we do reverse logistics. Compared to other startups, we get our hands dirty. We are young and excited in this regard. We do reverse logistics, of course, with in desired levels based on parts we can save, expenses we will spend later on. And with a new pricing algorithm, we put stores again. We renewed on second-hand goods. One of the most important things is that having unregulated prices where everyone puts their own prices. I'll get into detail later on. And later, we do the reselling. We go to stores and we say them that we will provide you solutions. Let me give you much more details.
Ortaklarımızdan alarak teker teker
We
incelemeye
first get them from brands and evaluate them. Our operators, experts, look for the faults in products or list information in the WMS system internally. And on all products, we produce a QR code. Retail, fashion relies on brand to set the price on color or model. And even though you have hundreds and thousands of the same thing, they all have the same barcode. We split those and we code them individually because all of them are not in the same condition. Our operator lists faulty parts or based on the repair done. We, in our operations center, set a path, go to roster, to coloring, to weavers, to other types of repairs, leather workers, etc. And this QR code through those facilities go through and then later get cleaned, they get washed, ironed out, etc. And later they get a grading. Of course, our partners, Boynar, Cem Boynar is someone I really love in this regard. He says it's fine to do this. Consumer only needs okay, but we have to set grading. And in the system, with the stock level and sales performance and different things, we start allocating them and go through channels. And then we do repricing. Of course, through all of these procedures, the stock, the point, the procedures, the sales, etc., are stored in our local database. We also compare prices from competitors on the web, and we look at the financial expectations from our partners, and we focus on satisfying the expectations, of course, also to have incentives for the consumers and privatize all the prices. And of course, this gets all updated. So you can have two different prices for the same looking shirt. One of them only missed a button, but let's say the other one missed an entire collar. So our pricing changes and the same procedures, but at the last step, some of them said, I give this a 7 out of 10, I give this one a 5 out of 10. So all these eventually create a dynamic individual price, and then there's the selling part. We're in a conventional area in this regard. We started establishing fashion stores. We also have an online part. In retail, things we cannot do online, and within Turkey, things we cannot do in Turkey, we go for wholesale partners sometimes. We also cooperate with them. So in these three channels, we return basically to the market area, and we establish a QR code. I think you can see them on the pictures here. On every product, these QR codes go to the last point, so the end user, consumer, can scan the QR code and read about what was being done on this and the social impact of it, seeing how much carbon almost was emission from it. And of course, there's a social aid for this, and they can see the savings and the impact of what they have done. Of course, we can situate ourselves on both sides. Sometimes we are just the service provider. We reprice them, but we do this on our own strategy channels, and sometimes our partners get our services. But on the other hand, majority of it, on in the end, we say that you don't need to give us anything. We only need this, and your operational cost responsibilities on your workshop or your warehouses should be given to us. Let us renew it, let us rebrand it, restructure it, and sell it. And from those resales, we only get our commissions and give the rest to you. So we give our customers money essentially on their hand. And the money here, of course, I don't want to give many numbers here, but with our partners on their outlets on out of seasons where they sell perfect goods are less profitable. So we introduced them a profitable alternative, and the reverse logistics here and the operational virtue of it all became more efficient than their own efficient channels. And we also have the opportunity to tell it to the end customer. There's no setup costs, risks, or integrations. And of course, it is the advantage of a technology we all developed ourselves. We have much more flexibility of it. Something not valuable for you can provide you cash flow and sustainability. And this has the importance of, in this event, in the meetings, we discussed this previously, but sustainability is not about value or something that only a minority does, but to get out of it all, you should make it all profitable. Turkey, when it comes to pricings of things, is careful. You know, this is something beyond drinking coffee from a cup made from something like this. So it's affordable and sustainable in our regard. Without further ado, we say waste isn't waste until we waste it. And finish my presentation with our group picture.
Teşekkür ediyoruz.
Thank you very
Çok
much,
çok keyifli bir
Mr.
sunum oldu.
Akbaş, for your enjoyable presentation. We wish you the best.
Sıradaki
And
konuşmacımız
now our next keynote speaker is Mr. Sundman with the story of UPM and its implementation.
Great. Thank you very much. And also thank you for the opportunity to be here today to share a bit of my thoughts and the thoughts of UPM regarding a circular economy. And I'm also then talking about the bioeconomy. So maybe taking a bit different approach here now than looking on, for example, the textile sector, because we are even talking about circulating sort of carbon, and we discuss even the climate change and replacing fossils with renewables and renewable carbon and these kind of questions. But hopefully I will be able to give some insight also to these questions. My first picture is actually from going back 100 years. And this picture has also a relation to the textile industry, actually. So this is a factory where we were producing reels of thread for the textile industry. And this was one of the largest export products for the Finnish forest-based industry. So we were exporting reels of thread for the textile industry, for example, in UK. And why I chose this picture is actually what you see on the floor. So 90% of all wood needed to produce this kind of reels of thread was dropped on the floor. That became sort of an issue, that what do we do with all of these raw material? And back in the days, we tried to find out new ways how to use these residues. And that was sort of the first step in this kind of efficient use of raw materials. So actually it became a raw material for starting to produce a wood-based pulp, which can then be used for paper products or for different kind of packaging. And during the years, this same site where that factory still, sort of the building is still there in the back side of this site. The sort of evolution has been there in place. We are not anymore producing any kind of reels because those are made of plastic today for the textile industry, but rather we have then developed a huge, big integrate utilizing wood to produce different kind of products. So paper products, pulp products, sawn timber products for construction of wood-based buildings, and also then bio-based fuels to reduce emissions in traffic and so forth. And that's actually what UPM is about. So it's a company utilizing bio-based renewable wood as a raw material to produce different kind of materials and different kind of products for different purposes, doing it on a global level, replacing fossil consumption, roughly a 10 billion turnover company in many different areas, and then also exploring new opportunities, which I will open up a bit more on. But anyway, the whole strategy of the company is based on the future mega trends. We all, of course, know that the climate is getting warmer, it's changing, and the main reason for the changing climate is the utilization of fossil fuels, which are then sort of adding up on the carbon in the atmosphere. At the same time, we know that the population in this world is growing. We will have some 2 billion more mid-class consumers in this world within the next 10 years, and we're running out of resources. So clearly we have the challenge of climate change as well as we have this question of resources. And of course, the focus needs to be on how are we more efficient in using the resources and how are we sort of able to replace the fossil resources with something which is renewable. And one of them is actually the forest and the biomass. So we have been using forest as a raw material already, as you saw in the first picture, for more than 100 years. And we do understand that we need to make it in a very responsible manner so that we ensure that the forests are remaining forests as we are still also then using them. And this is sort of the very important foundation of our company also. We ensure forests are remaining forests we also ensure that we have more and more forest in this world every day. Well, how do we then in practice make this equation that we can still use it and sort of we can have the cake and we can still eat part of it also? Of course, for us, it's very important that the forests are in very, very good shape, that they are growing, they are healthy, and through that, they are also then absorbing carbon from the atmosphere. So they are sort of part of the recycling of the carbon in this system. They are taking carbon from the atmosphere to be able to grow, and then we are using the forest to produce different kind of renewable raw materials to substitute consumption of fossil products in different kind of categories. There is an incentive for the forest owner to take care of the forest, to ensure that the forest is growing, as there is a demand, as we are willing to buy wood from the forest owners. So they have an sort of income of taking care of the forest and making sure that the forest is growing very, very good, and that they also can use this income from us to ensure that there is new plants planted when a tree is cut. So in practice, if I take an example from Finland, when a tree is cut in the age of 50 to 80 years, there's always 4 new plants planted instead of that one tree. And roughly 1% of the forest area is in harvesting during a year. So 99% out of the harvesting during 1 year. And this is how it rotates, and it's a sort of economic system to replace a fossil product or raw material. Then, of course, talking about efficiency, talking about recycling, it's very, very important also that different parts of a tree are used in very, very efficient manner. And it's clear that we can't use sort of the whole tree for just one product, but rather we need to have a whole system where we can have different purposes for different parts of the trees. So for example, we are producing pulp and paper from the wood fibers, and we can also then use the wood fibers to produce biofibrils or bio-based composites, which is then sort of new kind of materials. The thick part of the tree we can use to produce sawn goods or plywoods for different kind of purposes in building. And then if we look into the chemical part of wood, we can extract lignin or cellulose to create new kind of products like biochemicals or bio-based advanced fuels to replace fossil diesel in traffic and decarbonize traffic. And then the bark and different kind of branches and these parts of the tree we can use still as bio-based energy to replace utilization of fossil fuels in the energy sector. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a wide range of opportunities to use a renewable resource to replace fossil in consumption. But at the same time, we need to ensure that when we plan these products, when we design the products, we take into account also the recyclability of the product. And we can also do it in that way that we do the design together with our customers. So for example, if we produce label materials for different kind of label purposes, in our value chain, we are able to agree with our customers that we can also take back the residues they have of the labels when they then print them forward and for the different kind of consumer products. And out of these kind of residue streams from the labels they are using, we can produce, for example, as you see there in the left downside corner, different kind of composite materials, for example, for flooring and deck. Just one example of how you can take into account recyclability in the product design and in your service offering. But wood is in practice available and usable for very, very many different kind of applications to replace fossils. But meanwhile, you also need to take into account the recyclability and the circularity of the whole system. So more or less, that was why I wanted to just share at this stage, and hope we will have some time still for discussion also later on.
Çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Verdiğiniz tüm değerli bilgiler
Thank
için
you very
Sayın
much
Sun.
for all the valuable information you've given us. Now, again, from textile again, we look for the Infinite Fibers technological application, and I give the word to Mr. Alava.
Thank you so much. Is it now in full screen? Okay, it's happy to have this opportunity to discuss with you how the recycling is done in textile industry. Some previous speakers like Emre and Arnas were speaking about repurposing and reusing, and we come into the play a bit later. We are a fashion and textile technology company founded in 2016, headquartered nowadays in Finland. Even if the company is relatively young, the technology we are working on and commercializing, developing has a very long roots in Finland. The first patent was filed already in 1982, and then VTT was doing a relatively massive development research on this technology between 1995 and 2015 with multi-million euro investments. We have a technology which can turn trash textiles, really meaning that the kind of broken textiles, the worst quality textile waste, into brand new textile fiber, which looks and feels natural, and it's also a brand new fiber like cotton. So it's really being regarded as a cotton replacement fiber. Our primary business model is licensing as our technology, and I've been speaking later on also that how important it is to partner and work together with the world's largest textile brands and as also with the manufacturers, as we can't transfer and transform this whole massive industry by ourselves to the linear economy, the circular economy, but we need very, very strong partnerships. We're also selling the regenerated fiber, we call it Infina, from our present 2 pilot factories in Finland, and now we're in the process also of building the first commercial scale factory to Finland. And our dream is to stop waste being wasted, like it was also said by Anrek before, and make the really textile circularity an everyday reality globally. So we are working on the global space. The problems what we are solving, and I don't need to be speaking anymore about the value chain, as it was repeated so many times earlier that today's textile industry value chain is very linear. The problems what we are solving relate to the massive sustainability problems what the textile industry is having. It's been estimated, for example, that the global textile industry is producing 8 to 10% of the global CO2 emissions. And with our technology, we can reduce those CO2 emissions 67% compared to present commonly used textile fibers. The problem is going to be even worse in the future, as the demand of the textile fibers and textiles is continuously growing. It is estimated that during the coming 10 next years, the annual growth of textile fiber sales will be growing between 2 to 3%, and that would be leading into a massive problems later on and in 2030. It's also known that when you are washing the textiles made of polyester fibers, you are shedding the microfibers into the seas, which is recognized to be a bigger problem today in the seas than the kind of floating plastic bags or the bottles are. So there's a massive problem existing on the polyester uses. But then speaking about the kind of present economy of the habits of this technology, there's a massive amount of textile waste being landfill or incinerated, and that equals to about 1 truck of textile waste being landfilled every minute globally somewhere. And the recycling levels are really relatively bad as only less than 0.5% of all the textile fibers today are recycled or are made from textile waste. So there's also a massive loss of economy, as there's an estimate that there's a loss made of $100 billion annually when we are wasting the materials. At the same time, the consumer trends are also strongly changing. So many globally made consumer studies are showing that the younger generation, the millennials and Generation C people, are now very actively looking at sustainable fashion. So that's the other problem what the textile industry is addressing. The solution what we have for this industry is a chemical recycling technology, and this example relates to using textile waste as a feedstock. This is one of the alternatives. We can also work with cardboard waste, paper waste, and also certain agricultural residue streams. The first part of the problem, the solution is easily, just let's say, relatively simply shredding the material apart, removing buttons and zippers. This is kind of very close to traditional mechanical recycling of cotton. The next part of the process is then cleaning the material. So we are removing the colors or dyes, as well as we are also removing all the synthetic materials like polyester, nylon, and we are also softening the elastane. And we do believe that we are the only company globally who can solve also the elastane from the textile waste. In the next part of the process, now we are then activating cellulose by means of urea. And here we get a critical chemical component where nitrogen is now then connecting with cellulose. And I'll be later on speaking that what's the purpose of that. And then by the means of chemistry, we are then breaking that grinded material into liquid cellulose. So we have a liquid cellulose, and the excellence of this part of the process that the original waste can be even a dust format. So we can also take really a bad quality textile waste from the production. And at this stage, we can also blend different materials together. So we can also get always exactly the same fiber quality, whether we make it from the cardboard waste, paper waste, or textile waste. And then from this liquid cellulose, we are regenerating a brand new fiber. So we don't call this fiber recycled fiber, we call it regenerated, because it's a brand new fiber, which is on par on quality with all the virgin fibers. And we can adjust the length of the fiber. So kind of from the consumer's perspective, beauty is that you don't have any peeling problems with what you have typically with the kind of traditional recycling technologies. So for the consumer, it's very easy to get to use. You don't see any differences in quality or design of the clothing. And also for the manufacturers, it performs exactly the same in manufacturing as for example, when you're using cotton fiber for yarn spinning or fabric production. And the output from the technology is a textile fiber. And the uniqueness here is now that we can make this 100% from waste. We are the only company who's been proving the capability to produce it from 100% from the waste, also on the fabric level. The second thing is that's because I was earlier explaining that we get a bondage between nitrogen and cellulose. The nitrogen, the little content of the nitrogen in the fiber is giving the fiber very unique properties. It really looks very, very soft, and it also looks natural like cotton. So it's reflecting the light, exactly the same light like cotton, looking it dull and natural. And it's also very nice touch on the skin level. It's a true alternative for cotton, and also it can replace viscose in many applications. But our kind of key market segment is working on the high volume cotton applications, which I'll be speaking and explaining later. It's fully biodegradable, so there are no microplastic releases on the oceans. It's solving that problem. It has only natural ingredients, and we use 99% less water in the manufacturing compared, for example, to cotton. We need to work very closely with the value chain. So we need partners on different levels. One is definitely working very hard with the brands, as we need to get them convinced that the fiber is meeting all their quality requirements. These are all our customers, and we've been working with these since 2016, validating with all of these that the fiber is meeting their quality criteria. and also supplying and supporting very strongly their sustainability commitments. All of these companies have been handpicked and chosen so that these are the stellars who are working very actively on transforming the whole industry. The next level of the cooperation is working with the manufacturers of these global giants. For example, with the Turkish Kipaş, speaking next, we've been working already since 2017, and that was the first validation we did ever that they were able to produce denim fabric from infinite fiber by using it 100%. And then the third level of partnership is that we've been also partnering with the equipment suppliers, as we are a platform technology supplier, a method supplier, and then we need also cooperating very closely with the equipment and plant suppliers so that we can supply the turnkey solutions to the licensed customers so that they can be also starting the manufacturing globally. These are the different applications what we've been trying. So we've been looking at the high volume categories, starting from t-shirts, sweaters, denim, non-woven applications, dress shirts, dresses, and also bed sheets. And then we've been proving successfully, always with the manufacturers like Kipaş, that there's a good performance in manufacturing, and also the output fabrics and apparels are meeting both the consumer expectations as well as the manufacturers' expectations. On the left-hand side, you can see the picture of Maisie Williams, a star from Game of Thrones, and she's wearing, as a matter of fact, the first fabric we made with Kipaş, and she was also a co-designer of that design back in 2018. And now we are of process in taking a serious step to also the manufacturing, and first of all, evidencing that the technology can be scaled up into a full commercial volume. We've been looking at the site in Finland since early 2021. We've been looking at recycling old pulp and paper mills. So looking at that solution, whether it exists already a lot of existing infrastructure, and also experts and people with skills needed for manufacturing. And one part is that we've been now signing multi-year contracts with these brand companies, so they are willing to sign long-term offtake agreements to buy the fiber from the factory, and the factory is due to be starting in 2024. The scale is 30,000 tons production per annum, which equals to about 100 million t-shirts. And the great thing is and showing the kind of very strong commitment of the global fashion, that the most of the capacity has been already sold for the first 4 to 5 years. So there's a great excitement from the industry, and this will be then also accelerating the technology license, which will be, we believe that at the end of the day will be the solution to take this technology to the global market and really getting a strong impact on the sustainability on the fashion and transforming the textile industry to the circularity. Thanks for the attention.
Sayın Alava, biz de paylaşımlarınız için çok teşekkür
Thank you,
ederiz.
Mr. Alava, for your presentation. We are very limited on time, so I wish to give the word to sector with 30 different sectors of production under the Kipaş, and I wish to give the word to Mr. Gümüşer.
Halit Bey, mikrofonu
Mr. Halit, your microphone.
sessizde hala.
We still can't hear you.
Geldi sesiniz.
Okay, now we can hear you and we can see your presentation. Wonderful. Again, hello everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Honestly, having the last presentation was a good thing, so I could listen to previous presentations and skip over some of the mutual spots, even though we worked in some of them all together. So to briefly put, Kipaş Holding is an existing textile, cement, paper, and energy producer on global scale one of the largest producers in Turkey and the European zone, already working with many global companies. Our group is, with all of its unit, has about 43 production plants in Turkey. We produce a lot of things already with over 11,000 employees already working. And Kipaş was founded in 1984, and we completed 35 years thus far, and we are readying up for our 14th year anniversary. Kipaş, firstly, has goals and ambitions in terms of sustainability. We have some leading contributions in change. We have this vision. We call them ambitions. We firstly have a vision of having an economic, environmental, and social responsibilities wise sustainability on the highest level, with 3 areas of activity: caring for innovation, and we value transparency, and we reward actions taken for the sake of sustainability. We also have a goal of having 100% recyclable materials and goods, to have an environment-friendly approach and focus on water consumption, energy consumption, carbon emission, using raw materials, and many other things of focus. And we hope to have 100% recyclable rate on those aforementioned. And on terms of social responsibilities, we want to have fair access to opportunities by restructuring ourselves. As Kipaş, we have an annual of 145,000 tons of yarn and 80 millimeters of fabric produced. It is the biggest infrastructure for textile in the European continent, and the raw materials used, 60% of them are from sustainable sources, which is about 90 million tons, and which is a substantial amount. And we have a recycling plant established, as people also mentioned before, where materials that are gathered for recycling or restructuring, those that are not given to them are stored in our factories to convert them to fabric or cotton. And in terms of this recycling, we have a capacity of 11,000 tons. And we also focus on PET plastic recycling facility under investment in 2014. In 2024, we hope to have a PET fiber production facility with a capacity of 70,000 tons. We already focus on fibers that are produced from 220 million PET bottles already in recycle. We have reduced our carbon footprint already by 56%. And on this large-scale production, we consume about 130 million cloth, and we almost produce all of them from geothermal energy, as our facilities do that. We also have a water filtering facility. As you know, we consume a lot of water in this regard, and to return that water and extract it back to the nature without causing harm, we have a sophisticated water treatment facility, and about quarter of the water can be reused again. And for 2 years now, we have been planting trees, 500,000 annually, to neutralize carbon footprint. And as a social responsibility, we do this together with Ministry of Forestry, and we believe this is the most basic and the best solution for carbon footprinting. Of course, we have goals for 2025 to become a system consuming 100% sustainable and certified raw materials, and increase our chemical and physically recycled fiber consumption to 30% by 2030. We also host panels in terms of plastic recycling and potentials of recycling. We consume a lot of water, and of course, we filter them and treat them, but we have a goal by 2030 is to have zero liquid discharge. We also hope to achieve carbon neutrality by 2030. We even have a roadmap which we take place, and we have a goal to increase our women employees to 30% also. In Finland, we have a wonderful cooperation in paper and textile sectors, which I wish to touch upon briefly. Firstly, Infinite Fibers leading the new cotton project, and we are producer partner in this. And with the Horizon project, we are really excited to take part in this with many other global brands. We have a wonderful effort on display, and Kipash in this project produces denim, produces fabrics, and the recycled material produced fibers are also used on fabric production. It had started on October 2020, as Mr. Petri said, with in this project, we still share our findings, and in terms of fibers, we've seen successful production with the fibers produced by them and really easy to work on. All these materials gathered as waste, repurposed and used like this in terms of circularity and environment friendliness is a milestone. Mr. Petri said so, but I also wish to touch upon it briefly. We collect and sort the waste based on their type. It is a really important split with many tight gaps. And on second step, they disintegrate the parts that are not recyclable with accessories, etc., and make recyclable segments of it, separate fibers on this part, which is an important step. Many fibers are contained on the fabrics used. Then later, rather innovatively, they do the fourth step. And they honestly start the innovation from this procedure. And later with wet spinning, we move on to dissolving, and they create a liquid solution here and have a fiber established cut, which are used to produce fabrics, textiles, and use them in confectionaries and have them used in the fashion sector. Kipash on paper as Kipash coat, we have a substantial size in Turkey, and we also work with the Valmet company on Finland in regards to paper production. And right now, our current factory established have 450,000 tons of paper recycled in Kahramanmaraş. Our second investment in Söke, Aydın, is being planned to have 500,000 tons of paper recycled and reused as paper. With Valmet, We hope to contribute to environment safety greatly with a furnace system, a boiler system, and to emit less carbons. We hope to produce more energy, electricity with the realization of investment, especially in paper and in textile sectors for sustainability. We see investment focus on the certain aspects of it with hopefully more investments in the future. That's my presentation. Thank you, Mr. Halit, for your. I had prepared the presentation in English, but I had to translate it on the fly. Hope everyone could understand it. It was really easy to understand. Thank you with the wonderful examples and applications you presented. It was really inspiring. Now we have to end our session, and as we end it, we can perhaps have last words from our attendees based on content. Let's start with Mr. Çelik. Hello. To have the opportunity to meet many valuable people, I'm really grateful to you for hosting this. Hopefully, we'll see each other again on a brighter future. Mr. Akbaş? The circulation, or the circularity of it all is a wonderful topic to talk, and seeing it applied and actions taken, we really add value to everything in here. And I wish to thank everyone for attendance, for a brighter future. Thank you. Mr. Sandman?
Well, I'd like to thank you also for the opportunity to give this example of UPM. And also I would like to share the thought that it's very important that we give more and more, get awareness for these questions of how can we utilize different kind of materials and resources much more efficiently in this world. So grateful for this opportunity, and keep up the good work, all of you.
Çok teşekkürler.
Thank you
Buyurun.
very much. Mr. Alava?
Yes, thank you very much for well-organized event. It was really nice to be here, and all to your listeners. And hopefully we can bring together the joy back to your card ropes and water.
Çok teşekkürler.
Thank you
Ve
very much.
Sayın
And
Gülşer,
Mr. Gülmüşer will have your closing words. Again, I also wish to thank for the organization, and I believe this was a great contribution for the betterment of the future, as we all have shown what we do for it. Hopefully this event helped in raising awareness. Hopefully we'll do everything better in a better future.
teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you.
Katkılarınız için çok teşekkür.
I wish to thank everyone for their valued contributions.
Değerli katılımcılarımız,
And dear listeners,
Ekonomi Haftası'nın
the Turkey Circular Economy Week's day is concluded. For your attention, we are grateful. And today we talked about the relation between technology and circular economy. To all of our panelists and speakers, we thank them for their attendance. Again, we will have another comprehensive day and talk about what is fair circularity. And later on, we will talk about the green adaptation of the workforce. And on the second half, we will talk about sustainability and correct communication for circular economy. And we will also talk about the consumption culture and how it can change with our final session of tomorrow. Hope to see you tomorrow.